These are the basic instructions for how to play chess soccer. If you haven't, you might want to check out our introductory video at chess.soccer. Let's go over what you need to play chess soccer. You'll need some chess pieces, you'll need at least 4 dice, and you can download the game board at chess.soccer/boards. Here's how we set up for the game. The ball is a pawn, and the forward is played by the queen. Midfielders are bishops. Defensive players are played by the knights, and there's 1 rook as goalie. 1 pawn, 1 queen, 2 bishops, 2 knights, and 1 rook. When you're playing chess soccer, every turn, every piece is eligible for an action on your team. So that means you could have your forward pass, one of your midfielders move 1, and one of your defenders move 1 as well. The game is over after 2 15-minute halves or any agreed amount of time. Each turn, your players can take 1 of 4 actions. They can move, they can pass, they can shoot if they're on the right part of the board, and they can challenge if they're on the defense. Players can move in any direction. They can go vertically, horizontally, or diagonally. And on the opening move of the game, or half, or after a goal is scored, players can move 2 spaces. Pieces can also pass. In order to pass, a piece must have a clear path. They can't pass over another piece, and it must be in the correct direction, vertically, horizontally, or diagonally. Let's look at a completed pass. Let's say we have a piece that wants to pass 4 spaces. They need to roll 2 dice and get a roll of 4 or greater. If they do so, the pass is complete. Now let's look at an incomplete pass. The same player wants to make the same pass, but this time their roll is less than 4, so the ball lands 3 squares away. Now let's look at another way that a pass can be incomplete. If the roll is a double, the pass is also unsuccessful. If the roll was double 1s, it results in a handball, and double 2s through 6s, we get an incomplete pass that's usually overshot. Let's look at that in some detail. So double 1s you can see result in a handball at the spot. If double 2s, double 3s, or double 4s, it goes behind the player, and double 5s or 6s to the left or the right. It should be noted that any incomplete pass ends the player's turn immediately, and the other player takes over. Now let's look at a few examples. For instance, if this piece here were to make an incomplete pass with doubles, if we had double 1s, we would notice it's a handball. Double 2s, 3s, and 4s all go behind the piece, with 2 being a loose ball on the field and 3 and 4 a throw-in. Now a double 5 or a double 6 will mean that the pass is incomplete to the left or the right. Here's a few more examples. Here we see if it's double 2s, 3s, and 4s, we get a goal kick. And we see if it's double 5 that the white piece intercepts. On this example, we again see 1's a handball. This time the black bishop gets the ball on a double 2, a throw in on 3 and 4, and a corner kick on 5, intercepted by the white on 6. So it's not too much different than what would happen in real soccer if the ball were to go out of bounds or be an incomplete pass. During a pass, the defense also gets to roll dice. If they roll doubles, they interrupt the passing and the turn of the other team. So let's say that black passes and makes a successful pass, but white rolls doubles. That means that the black team cannot pass in this direction here. It must stop their turn, and the white can take over and perhaps challenge. This is a way of interrupting a passing sequence. Here's another example where doubles would come into play. Now, I know I said that you can never pass over an opponent, but there's going to be one exception, and that's with midfielders. So just bear with me for a minute. Let's say that black passed successfully over another player because of the midfielder rule, which we'll cover shortly, but white ruled doubles. In that case, the white player would steal the ball, as you can see here, and get to start their turn. Now, if all this seems rather too much and you want to just play a simple game, or perhaps you have some younger players, rather than having the defense roll, you can just assume that all passes are successful except when doubles. And with doubles, you can just have things overshoot by 2 spaces. Now let's talk about shooting. Now, first of all, you have to be in the right spot to shoot. So you have to be on your opponent's half, and you have to be on one of these numbered. So you can see how certain squares have numbers. You have to be on one of the numbered spaces in order to shoot. Now, to see if you made the shot, you're going to take the shooter roll versus the goalie roll with a few bonuses. Let's go over all of these. Now, the shooter roll is fairly straightforward, and that's going to be the number of dice shown on the square. So you'll notice the squares on your opponent's half have numbers. So if you were on the square that said 3, then you will get 3 dice to roll. Unless you're a defender, in which case there's a little penalty. And if you're a goalie, there's a bigger penalty, so that the shot is not quite as easy for them as it would be for a midfielder or for a forward. Now, there's going to be a bonus if the goalie is not where he or she is supposed to be. So you'll notice in this slide that the goalie is out of position, and you'll get a 1 die bonus. So if previously you had 3 dice to roll, you'll get 4. Now, there's not going to be a direct bonus if the goalie is positioned as well as he can be. So you'll notice in this situation right here that the goalie is on his half. So it's as close as he could come. And in this situation, the goalie again is as close as he could be, since there are only 2 squares in the area. Now, the goalie gets to roll 3 dice usually, unless he's out of place. If he's in his box where he's supposed to be, he gets 3 dice, whereas he only gets 2 in the larger box and just 1 if he's outside the box. And that's for no matter where he is. Now, there's also a bonus for a defender who is positioned in a blocking position. Let me show you what that means. Here you'll see 2 defenders positioned in front of the shot. One gets a blocking bonus, one doesn't. This one is in the adjacent square closest to the goal. You can see he's right next to the shooter, and he's on the right spot here in terms of blocking a shot. Whereas on the bottom, there's no blocking bonus because the defender is not in an adjacent square. He's further away, even though he's on the correct path there. When you have a shot and you do the rolling, the higher number wins. And if the defense wins, the goalie gets the ball. If the offensive team wins, then they get a point and you reset the board. Now, if you get a tie, that counts for a corner kick from the offense. More on that later. Let's go over an example of a shot. So you can see here the offensive player is on a 3 square, so he or she gets 3 dice, and the defensive player, the goalie, is in the proper spot, so he or she gets 3 dice as well. Now let's look at one more example. This time, both the offense and the defense have a bonus. The offense is on a 3 square, so it gets 3 dice. But the goalie's out of position, so it gets the direct shot bonus. Now, the defensive player, though, is in a blocking position, so there's going to be a bonus there too. First of all, the goalie's in the small box. He gets 3 dice. And the blocking position bonus is taken into account. Both get 4 dice. Lots of people rolling 3s. Now, challenging can only be done by the defense. Makes sense. And let's look at who can challenge and who can't. To challenge, you're going to need to be next to the player that has the ball. So obviously, these players cannot challenge for the ball because they're nowhere near it. Whereas these two, this one who's behind and this one who's in front, both could challenge. The goalie cannot be challenged when it has the ball as long as it's in one of the boxes. So let's look at an example of a challenge. You'll see in this example that we have 2 players that are adjacent. In this case, the defender's challenging the midfielder. The offense rolls a 4, and the defense rolls a 3. But the defending piece, a defender, will get a +1, which is not an extra die, but an extra point. So that would make for a tie in this situation. When the offense wins, it's going to get extra actions. So that means be careful when you're challenging because you could leave yourself open to an attack. Now, just like in passing, a roll of doubles means that something bad has happened. So in this case, a roll, let's say you rolled 2 2s. Wow, those are awesome dice. Let's say you rolled 2 2s. That's going to mean that you have committed a foul. And the foul will result in a free kick. And if that foul was inside the penalty box, that would result in a penalty kick. And if you get snake eyes, double 1s, that elevates even more and becomes a yellow card. And of course, 2 yellow cards, and the player is out. Now that's the basics on actions. Let's talk about some special skills that each player has. Forwards get something cool. When they have the ball, they can do 2 actions. So they could do 2 moves. They could do a move and a pass, or a move and a shot. And that comes regardless of when they get the ball. So let's say in this example, we see the forward is moving and then collects the ball and then moves again. So it gets its second action halfway through its turn. And one little thing though, if you recall, at the kickoff, all the pieces get to move 2, but that only can be used once. You can't move the forward 2 and then 2 again on the kickoff. Now, we mentioned this briefly before, but I just wanted to go over it officially, and that is that midfielders have the special ability of being able to pass over one piece. So you can see in this example, there's one opposing midfielder, and that he or she's passed right over because of a successful pass there. Defenders we've mentioned, but just to go over their skills again, they get +1 on any challenges. And if they're in blocking position, they get an extra die on the goalie roll. Goalie, we've mentioned this too, he or she cannot be challenged when in the box. And they can kick over as many defenders as they would like, as you'll see in this slide. Now let's talk about dead balls, which we've seen those come from tie on a shot, as it shows here, or it could have been out of bounds on their own end line. And of course, the ball is placed in the corner. After it's placed in the corner, we have a reset. And that means that players take turns placing their pieces. No fighting, please. Then they can pass in, and the rules apply much like a midfielder. So you can pass over one, even if you're not a midfielder. So here you can see there's a forward, and he's passing right over one defender. And over here on the right, you can see the shot is possible, and you could roll one whole die, good luck with that, against the 3 of the goalie. So, but that's a tough one. An Olympic goal, I think that's called. Now, a goal kick would come from the ball going out the opponent's end line. And goal kicks, usually taken by the goalie, but not necessarily, can go over multiple pieces, just like a goalie kick. A throw in, so you could see in this situation, it's a pass, it goes over and becomes a throw in for white. And the piece takes the square where the ball went out, and of course, that's after a reset. A free kick. So we talked about in challenges how a foul can occur. And if it's outside the penalty box, as it is in this slide, then they get a free kick. And they can pass or shoot, depending on if the shot is possible. And you can add a blocking bonus by creating a wall, which consists of one defensive player. Now, if that foul had occurred inside the penalty box, then it would be a penalty kick. So you'll notice in this slide that the piece with the ball is challenged inside the box and a penalty resulted. For the penalty kick, only the shooter and the goalie are allowed inside the box. Shooter gets automatically 4 dice and the goalie gets 2. Not liking those odds. Let's say the goalie rolls doubles, though. So once again, doubles. Always watch out for doubles. Then it's a deflection. And you'll see a little chart here that goes clockwise around the goalie. And those are the spots where the deflection would end up. So a loose ball in those locations. Sometimes it will land right on the shooter and they can shoot again. Or sometimes another piece might be able to collect it. Loose balls we've touched on a number of times, but I thought I'd put them all in one nice space. You'll notice in this example that there's a loose ball from a short pass, and since the turn automatically ends there and becomes the black turn, in this case, the black piece was placed just right and was able to collect it on their next move. But since the white piece is right next to him, on the white piece, his next move, it can then challenge back for the ball. So loose balls are often the cause of a lot of action. All right, and that's it for the basic instructions. Not so basic, I suppose, but if you want more instructions, because you just love instructions, there's some for the advanced game. There's also some fun playing variations like Tiki-Taka or Messy Magic. There's a whole bunch of them, or Street Soccer, that you can get on the site. There's, as mentioned, some game boards. We have a 1, 2, and a 4-page version. Get out your tape for the 4-page version. And we have videos of, quote, classic matches that you might want to watch just to see how the game is played, and I hope they're kind of fun. So that's it. So please like, share, subscribe, and for the bold among you, tattoo. All right. Hope you have fun.